I have a small YouTube channel called Nat and the Guy. We have a story coming out tomorrow about the Canadian Amish farmers, and also talk about Amos Miller. We cover pop culture, news, and populism. Recently moved from Vancouver to Mexico City because of Trudeau. Please feel free to check out our channel. So it's Nat and the Guy.
Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And today we're going to talk about the Amish farmers up in Canada. They've been given a $400,000 fine, which they weren't even notified of. After that, we're going to go a little bit into the Amos Miller case that was recently been going on in the United States. So let's get into this.
Yes, so this all has to do with fines given because of the ArriveCan app in Canada, which the government was forcing people to use when coming back into the country. You had to fill out this thing on the app. It was very cumbersome. A lot of people didn't want to do it, and it was to prove that you were indeed following their rules and vaccinated.
Well, the issue with this is Amish people use very, very little electricity. They have no phones. They've completely rejected most technology. So there was no way to notify the Amish farmers of these fines that were racking up on 72 families, I believe, for $400,000. Now, they weren't able to email them. They weren't able to give them a phone call. And the government neglected to send anybody out to the properties or to notify these families in person. So now it's become an issue because one of the Amish farmers' sons went to the bank to get a loan for some cattle, and he was going to put up the family home for collateral, and the bank told them that there was a lien put on the home and that they couldn't give him any kind of loan. This has a major issue because this is preventing the father from passing the house on to the son if anything, God forbid, happened to the father.
And I mean, they did have religious exemptions from the vaccinations, and there were options at the border. Sometimes they would give you a paper to fill out, but you had to have a phone and you had to have an email for them to follow up and track you. Again, this story is slightly personal to me because, as I mentioned in our Why We Left Canada video, I myself came back from Mexico during the pandemic without having the jab and got a $6,000 fine because of it. And I went through the court system and I fought it, and eventually it just dropped off. But in this case, it seems like the Canadian government is a lot more intent on keeping those fines.
Well, I think there's a public pressure campaign being put on Doug Ford right now to kind of give some relief to these Amish farmers, because this ArriveCan app, if you don't remember, it was a huge scam. The government spent tens of millions of dollars on this app, which should have cost tens of thousands of dollars. And they eventually dropped most of the fines for the people that showed up in court. And it's still an ongoing scandal to this day. And they're uncovering all the financing that went on into this ArriveCan app with the Justin Trudeau administration.
Yes, there's been quite a lot of controversy surrounding it. And it is one of the reasons why a lot of the fines were dropped, because they didn't really have many other legs to stand on. And it became clear that the contractor that they were using was not doing things correctly, as with a lot of other things surrounding the whole pandemic management from the Canadian government.
Well, I will hand it to Rebel News because they're the ones that uncovered this story. Now, they're a huge legal activist organization and news organization within Canada, one of the few independent news organizations up there. If you want to see the full story, I highly recommend going to Rebel News. We'll leave a link down below. But let's show a little clip of the report that they made.
Yes, and right now, just to mention, it is the Democracy Fund that Rebel News set up that will be helping the families. Right now, they have one lawyer, but he's only able to help 3 families. So hopefully more and more people will hear this story and want to help.
Inside the shop of one of the community leaders of the Amish group in Chatsworth in southwest Ontario. I can imagine it's a wonderful but unusual life growing up in 21st century Ontario, living like it's the 18th century. Let me ask you a question. If you didn't check the news at all during the COVID crisis, if all you had to go by were your own eyes and ears, would you have believed we were in a pandemic? I asked the leader of this community if anyone here got seriously sick or died, God forbid, from COVID, and he said not one of them. They didn't get jabbed either. It's against their religious beliefs. They weren't wearing masks. They lived normally. And I put it to you that everyone on this farm eating naturally, food they grow, the people here are much healthier than the city folks who shut themselves off from exercise and from the world and panic during the pandemic. I'm in.
Well, that's a brief clip of the full report, which is almost 30 minutes on Rebel News. If you can go watch it, I highly recommend it. Also, bringing any public attention to this is a great benefit. I know Robert Barnes, before this case happened, he was helping Amos Miller, who's another Amish farmer, but in the United States. And the government was coming after him over the ability to farm his own food and sell it to the general public and not in the stores. So Robert Barnes was able to garner a lot of public attention for that case, which really flipped the narrative in the public opinion and really helped to make a good outcome in the end.
So yes, the Rebel News story will be linked down below, but also Robert Barnes and his efforts. He is a constitutional lawyer in the United States. He has his own show with another lawyer from Canada called Viva, so it's called Viva Barnes, and you can search it on YouTube or wherever, and he talks a lot about this case because it is important to have food freedom and to be able to eat and raise your food and do with your food whatever you want.
The thing is, they've recently done a poll with both liberals and conservatives, and 86% both agree that that people should be able to buy directly from the farm, which is basically a bipartisan issue and becoming a very large populist issue. Let's look at what Robert Barnes has to say about this, and then we'll maybe close up.
My view still is a farmer should be able to farm in the traditional way, and an American should have a constitutionally protected right to make their own food choices, not the government. We requested that the court clarify that the injunction does not apply outside the state of Pennsylvania. Most of Amos Miller's members come from all across the nation. My view still is a farmer should be able to farm in the traditional way, and an American should have a constitutionally protected right to make their own food choices, not the government. We requested that the court clarify that the injunction does not apply outside the state of Pennsylvania. Most of Amos Miller's members come from all across the nation. My view still is a farmer should be able to farm in the traditional way, and an American should have a constitutionally protected right to make their own food choices, not the government. We requested that the court clarify that the injunction does not apply outside the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so that was Robert Barnes. And if you don't know, in the United States, lobbyists have a big impression on the kind of laws that are made, especially when it comes to corporate America. The food lobbyists are some of the biggest lobbyists within the United States. And it was fundamentally important to bring a lot of mainstream attention to the Amos Miller case in order to get a good ruling in that case. It's been found that Amos Miller is allowed to sell his food outside the state of Pennsylvania, which gave some temporary relief, but now the government's going after many other Amish farmers. One of the main reasons may be that lobbyists do not want a baseline of individuals that are eating clean, healthy, organic grown food. And the statistics are bearing out that these people don't have the same diseases, are much healthier than the general population.
And I mean, for us, even moving from Canada to Mexico, we've noticed a huge difference in the quality of the food, even like feeling like you're actually getting some nourishment when you eat. And again, why would a government want to help you be more healthy and stop living the hedonistic, disgusting way that they promote? And I mean, rather be clean and healthy and a lot happier. So, of course, they're going to go after a population that does not use electricity or technology or has a lot of ways to communicate to the outside world about what's happening to them. Luckily, the cases are coming out. But again, a religious, happy, healthy community is not, what can become governable. They can become ungovernable if left alone.
Well, to close out, I guess I'll give you a big thanks to Rebel News and Robert Barnes for standing up for the Amish.
And for now, thank you for watching. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Please remember to like and subscribe. We are trying to grow the channel and bring stories that not a lot of people are talking about.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Adios.